So someone had asked how to make tier trays, or how I made my tier tray. You can do this with pretty much any round design you have. It just needs to be separated into parts. So I have this round circle quilt from my 9-pack of circle quilt files. And I have it color coordinated, so it's in 3 different steps. We've got inside ring, we've got the design, and we've got an outside ring. So for materials, I should probably mention, for the backer and the design layer, I used 1/8 inch plywood, Pure Bond maple from Home Depot. And for the top ring, I used 1/4 inch Pure Bond maple as well. You could use whatever material you want. This is just what I used. So when I added up the 1/8, 1/8, and 1/4, I got a 1/2 inch, and my binding that I used, or my banding I used around the tray to cover up the layers, was a 1/2 inch. So it ended up working out perfectly, and that's kind of why I decided to use the thicknesses that I used. So you're going to have that thickness used for every tier. So 1/8, 1/8, and 1/4 for every tier that you make. So for the first tier, or for the bottom tier, this one is scaled to 10.75 by 10.75. You can open this down here with this fun little ruler. So for the backer, I basically just want to cut out a round circle because everything's going to attach to that round circle. So I'm going to ignore the star, and I'm going to ignore the inner circle. And I would go ahead and cut this. For the 1/8, I typically cut at 160. I know for proof grade, it's actually 168, but I like to make sure my stuff actually cuts. So I always dial it down to 160. And that's just what I do. I also always use the set focus feature. So this is your backer. So we cut our backer out. Now what we want to do is we want to cut the design layer. The design layer will then glue to your backer. So the design layer, we are going to still cut the outer ring. We are going to either score or cut the design. I always cut because I am really bad at painting within lines, and I just find it easier to cut. These are not adjusted for kerf, so there will be a little bit of gap, but as long as you space it, it's not really noticeable, I don't think. So anyway, so we're going to cut, we are going to cut, and we are going to, I always score this ring right here. So now we're going to cut this again. So it's going to come out basically as a big design. Now what I always do is once I've cut it, I mask the design when it's been cut in the Glowforge so I can pull it out as one solid piece. I never take out the individual pieces, and I've learned this over time making these designs. This is the easiest way to transfer your product or your project. And I'll reuse the same masking that I transfer stuff out of over and over again. There's no reason to use a new piece of masking every time. So this is your design layer. So your top layer is going to just be this outer ring. So we are going to ignore the design. We are going to cut the outer ring, and we're going to cut the inside ring. This is going to create a lip. So now we cut this. Now keep in mind all these steps. You need to be putting in new material. You should not be recutting over the exact same spot, and I hope you guys understand that. But this is just to show you how to use one design, and how you can manipulate by ignoring or cutting or scoring to make it work for your project. So we've cut our ring. So now what we want to do is let's make the middle tier. Okay, so If we were to make the middle tier and we still have just this one file, we're just going to select the whole thing. We're going to come down to scale. Let's make it 9 inches. So now it's smaller, right? Well, here's something fun. There's no reason to do this whole thing another time because we're going to have a third tier. So we are going to select the whole thing. We are going to do a Command C for copy, Command V for paste, and we are going to move this over. This is going to be our third tier. So we want it to be smaller too, right? So let's make it 7.75. So that's my third tier. So now we're going to repeat the same process we did for the first tier, just working through the steps one at a time. So let's cut the backers first. So this is our backer layer. So we're going to ignore, and we're going to ignore. And so there's that layer. And then we're going to take that board out. We're going to put in a new board, and we are going to score the design. We are going to score the inner layer, and we are going to still cut the outer layer. Going to take out our board, put in a new board after this has been cut, and then we are going to do just the lip. So we're going to ignore the pattern. We are going to cut and cut. So now once you've cut all of this out, you're going to glue them together so that there are 3 layers. Bottom layer is your backer, middle layer is your design, and top layer is your ring. You can paint them however you want. For the uprights, and I'll include this in the comments of this video, but I use candlesticks. They were $9 from Amazon. And then I added as my trim some leather with some brad nails just to add kind of a higher end feel. But you could just use some of the veneer iron-on wood tape, you know, that you could just iron on the wood all the way around and then cut off the excess. Either works. And for the candlesticks, just as an FYI, I just glued them. I didn't use any additional screws or hardware. I just used wood glue and let it sit. So that's pretty much it. If you have questions or comments, please let me know. But this, this really, you can make a tiered tray out of anything. You could use some of the backer patterns that I've created. You could create your own circles. Just as long as you have the file set up properly with the 3 different colors. So your outer ring, your inner scored ring, and your design are all different colors. You really can make anything that you would like in the tiered tray arena. So I guess that's it. I'm babbling now, so I'm going to jump off. But thanks for watching, and I hope you guys got something out of this. Thanks.